Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. And today I wanted to address abortion and the fact that it's not a constitutional right. There's a form of obfuscation that's going on now that is, let me use the Equal Rights Amendment for just a minute. So let's say the Equal Rights Amendment that was going on was based on saying we don't have to go along with this. We're not going to amend the Constitution to make everybody equal, but equality is not a something that can be legislated. Okay, so when we're working to purify the legal system, but when you stop and think of it, the legal system is being obfuscated. Okay. So let's say that if you have a situation where under universal law, everybody is, in God's eyes, is considered equal, but because of the Constitution is the application of that, and it's the power aspect. The principles set us at a very high level of universal law, but the application of that is the power, and it can go up, down, or straight ahead. Okay, so the Supreme Court now is going down into the power games, and ignoring the crisis goes like this, and then up is when you stand on universal law. Okay, when what they're doing, so a pure legal system is always choosing to go up, not down. So the obfuscation that we're seeing at the Supreme Court right now has to do with like the Equal Rights Amendment saying we don't have to amend the Constitution to give everybody equal rights because they already have equal rights. We already have equal rights, and the reason for that is because equality under the law, they can't take away the rights that we have given to us by our Creator. They don't have jurisdiction over it. All they do is destroy themselves in the process of doing that. Okay, then they face the backlashes of universal law. Okay, in terms of abortion, the obfuscation has to do with the right to life. They're saying that babies have legal rights, but babies don't have, fetuses don't have. As soon as the child is born, when it takes its first breath, that's, you can say, is that when it has the rights. Then it's treated equal to everyone else in terms of God's eyes. Okay, when you have, but see, there's obfuscation related to religion, and there's obfuscated related to definitions of words. There's obfuscation related to this, but right to life is actually an unalienable right that comes from our Creator. But our founder said we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, right to life, the Constitution doesn't give us right to life. It's God that gives us right to our life. That's our purpose in life. And we have a soul agreement. We have a contract with God so that we can fulfill our purpose in life. We have, and this sounds like Oprah Winfrey, doesn't it? We have an unalienable right to live our life without interference, to create the life we want without interference, to be treated fairly and equally, and to have a voice in our government. Okay, when the Constitution, the U.S. government, the Supreme Court addresses the constitutionality of laws that have been created. So you could say that Roe v. Wade, they overturn it, basically they cannot ban abortions. They can overturn Roe v. Wade, but they cannot as legislation, but they cannot come up with laws that prevent a woman. They cannot make it illegal for a woman to have that. Otherwise, what they're doing is they're not treating everybody. They're not allowing the women to get their life. And I know that this has been a focus that way, but it's because it's an unalienable right, not a constitutional right, and the Supreme Court does not have the right to ban abortions. But what they're doing, you see what I mean? It's a form of obfuscation to say that we have the right. I am a man and I have the right, or I am a judge and I have the right to take away your right. They don't. They cannot take away something that belongs to God. You have the 3 levels of the universe. You have the 3 levels of the U.S. government. The unalienable rights, which are here. They apply to every atom in the universe. It's like saying, okay, we're going to make sure that you don't have gravity. We're going to take away gravity and we're going to let you float off like that. They can't do that. It's there. It's a fact. It's reality. You cannot refute the fact that God exists. That you can say, well, who's God then? And then there's a Christian God. No, because God stands on universal law too, and basically it is this universal law. God is subject to universal law too, and universal law stands on equality, because they count at liberty, freedom, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance. Basically, they can't take away those. Those are the 7 deadly sins, and so when people are playing the games of revenge, for example, they're breaking universal law. They're facing the backlashes of universal law. So don't be drawn into the idea that somebody can prevent you from getting your life. They can't. The government does not have jurisdiction over your life. They can decide on. They can allow you to have to pay, whether they will pay for it. But let's say my neighbor cannot come and tell me how I can live my life. That's a form of, there's a line there that says you can't tell me what to do. Nobody can tell another person what to do. It's because it's our connection with our Creator that's important. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. If it comes from God, the Creator, there's other alternatives associated with it. And now we have to unravel who God is and our unalienable rights. There have been attempts to decide, because when the letter to the Supreme Court went out, there's been an attempt to erase it. There's been an attempt to tell people, well, we don't want to go with that. That's a threat to national security. We got to stop this. This is a terrible thing. We got to stop it. So it's like, you can say it's like the battle between light and darkness. Light is a creative substance that allows you to manifest an idea. Well, we can manifest to create our life, to bring down everything we need from our Creator, like manna from heaven. Or we can manifest a virus. This is the same thing. It's darkness and the battle between light and darkness and obfuscation. So equality is the first requirement for conflict resolution. For a fair trial, everybody has to be considered equal. There can't be inequality under the law, otherwise there wouldn't be a fair trial. So we're looking at the Equal Rights Amendment. Under the law, our government cannot treat us unequal. We cannot. It goes against universal law. We cannot dictate. We cannot say we are going to set up a law that says we're going to, like, one group of people has more important than the other. And this applies to every atom in the universe. So our relationship with people from Mexico, Central America, we cannot put a wall there. We have to treat them fairly and equally. So that our border legislation, our border policies, everything that is not treating people fairly and equally, then that's not right. That takes away our unalienable rights. Our Constitution gives people the right to ask for asylum if we can't take away people's rights, because otherwise we lose ours. And that's where we are now. Our organization, our first government proposal has to do with exit strategy for Iraq, which is why we are losing our rights right now. We have when George W. Bush went into Iraq, he took away the rights of the Iraqi people to be able to live their life without interference. All along, our policies were wrong and not based on universal law. We believe in God, we believe in the Constitution, but we sure don't believe in giving everybody universal law, which is God's law, and we don't believe in constitutional law, and we're undermining it, but basically it seems like the right idea to do because it sounds very patriotic. Okay, that's not patriotism, okay? When we stand on God's law, we have to address what God's law really is, and that's what my letter to the Supreme Court did. Okay, so don't worry about this. We're going to address what our unalienable rights are and our relationship with God. There's been attempts to obfuscate our unalienable rights by calling them human rights, by calling them this, and Mike Pompeo went to, the UN and stood up and said these are human rights, and basically they said, no, you haven't any clue what you're talking about. Okay, so just because somebody is a religious person or somebody is that, basically God doesn't work that way. So we're going to go into that, and we're going to my next after we work on this government proposal, we have to do the constitutional amendment, because by taking away the rights of the Iraqi people, we lost our rights under universal law, and that's why we are collapsing, why we are losing them now, because the Republican Party is grabbing for this illusion, weaving this illusion. Everybody does that. Everybody weaves illusion. And then because we're not necessarily aware of the truth, we may not be lying, but we're not necessarily speaking the truth either. Okay, so now the next thing is the Catholic Church in America, and we're going to be purifying ideas related to terrorism and sexual abuse by the priests. You see, everybody falls short. So that's all I wanted to say for today. Is abortion is based on the illusion is based on the definition of life, and it is God's interpretation, which is our sole agreement with God, and I'll go into that. A right to, and our founding fathers, the right to live our life without interference. Our life is not right to life, is the right to the woman's right to have her life, but the fetus really doesn't have any legal rights at that time. They don't do it until they get because babies are born dead, and what rights do they don't have a will. They cannot, they're not a legal entity until they take their first breath. Okay, and then the idea of it's an unalienable right. So these two things we need to look at. Okay, and then we have to define what those are, basically. So that's all I wanted to say for today. I'd like you to comment down in the description box, in the comments area. Like, share, and subscribe, please.